Hi, my name's Kate from Evolve Holistic Healing. I'm a transpersonal crystal therapist and I've got students all around the world who are studying professional crystal therapy with me. Today I'm going to show you how I do a protection shield after a crystal healing treatment. So this is a really beautiful exercise that you can do with your clients after a crystal healing session or any type of healing session, and it just seals in all that juicy goodness and creates a protective layer between your client and the outside world for a couple of days just to let the healing settle. They're often in a state of vulnerability after a session. You may have opened up some really raw emotions and feelings. You may have delved quite deeply, and surrounding them in a beautiful protection shield after the session just really helps keep them energetically intact while the dust settles, so to speak, after the healing. Now, there are 3 different types of crystals that are my #1 picks for creating a protective shield. Ideally, you want to work with crystals that are really large, so more in a wand shape, something that's going to be long that you can sweep through the aura space or the energetic field of your client. But just to show you the different types of crystals that I work with for protection, these are my favorites. Other therapists or crystal practitioners may have a different opinion, but in 10 years of experience, these are my top picks. So we've got smoky quartz. Smoky quartz is beautiful because it also protects against electromagnetic pollution, which is all of that pollution that comes from TVs, microwaves, phones. You can place a piece of smoky quartz in front of any of those things and it will help filter the electromagnetic pollution. Interesting thing about smoky quartz is that it's also safe to use with clients that are suffering from cancer or who are undergoing chemotherapy. Not all crystals are safe to work with clients who have cancer or are undergoing chemo. So please be mindful before you're working with those type of clients exactly which crystals you're placing on them, because you may place crystals that you think are acting to enhance their wellness and support their healing, but in fact, those crystals can also be feeding the cancer cells in addition to the good cells in the client's body. So smoky quartz is a fantastic pick for protection. Probably the most famed protection stone is black tourmaline. So I've got a little raw piece here. You can see that tourmaline is striated. That means that it's formed the actual cellular structure is an up and down linear kind of structure. This means that you can get pieces of tourmaline that are quite long. They're in natural wands. So like I said, for this type of exercise, you would ideally want a nice large crystal. If you've got a nice long black tourmaline wand, then that would be excellent for performing a protective shield. And finally, we've got selenite. Now, this is a teeny tiny piece of selenite. Selenite's similar to tourmaline in that it does come in really long natural wands. Now, the reason why selenite is actually my #1 pick for creating a protection shield is it's cheaper than tourmaline. I have lots of pieces of black tourmaline, but to get a piece this size of black tourmaline would cost about 5 times the price of what a piece this size of selenite does, and I think it is just as effective. I actually prefer working with the selenite after a session because it's such a high vibe healing stone. Black tourmaline's a great healing stone as well, but the energy is very earthbound. It's a grounding stone, so it really draws the energy in, anchors it into the physical body. If you've watched some of my earlier videos, then you'll see a video called Grounding with a Crystal. This is a wonderful stone to use for grounding after a crystal healing to anchor the healing into the physical body. I do go on about grounding a lot in my tutorials because it is so important. So many people that are on a spiritual path or are practicing any form of energetic or spiritual healing just don't give adequate time to grounding the healing into the physical body. We're earthly beings, so as much as we work in a high vibrational way, it needs to be drawn in and integrated into the physical body for maximum result. Now for today's tutorial, I'm going to be using these 2 large pieces of selenite. These are actually the ones that I work with my clients when I'm doing protection shields. So they've had a lot of practice with this and I feel really comfortable using them. As you'll see when I'm doing the shield, the longer and larger the wand, the easier it's going to be on you, the therapist, and the less hard work you actually have to do in drawing the shield. If you're working with a smaller wand, say around this size, it's still going to be effective. You're still going to be able to create the shield, but you're just going to have to do a little bit more work to get there. It's all about sweeping the crystal through the air and actually covering as much airspace through your client's energetic body as possible in one time to prevent you from having to go back and keep going through that same spot on the energetic body. You'll see what I mean when I start with a client. Now I'll just quickly go over the chakra placement one last time. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but I can't stress how important it is to actually place the earth chakra stone down first. Now that can be between the ankles or under the heels of the feet. So just so you can see, I'm just going to place it on top of the cloth between the ankles today. I've got hematite there. Now second, we always place the astral crystal or the higher crown, and that goes just at the top of the head. So now we've honoured earth and we've honoured the astral planes, and we've opened up the doorways between the two so the energy can flow freely throughout your client's body. And then we can place the remainder of the chakra crystals. I prefer to work from the base up, but there's no rule here. I don't think it makes too much of a difference, except for if you're working with a client who's quite heavy and earthbound, say clients who have depression, then I would suggest starting at the top first. You want to lighten it and draw the energy upwards. If you're working with a client who's fidgety, finding it difficult to relax, a little bit away with the fairies, then you would want to start with the lower chakras, because that helps bring some grounding early on and quickly to the session so they can get anchored and calm down for the remainder of the session. So I'll just quickly place these down. Please refer back to my earlier tutorials, because we certainly don't just plop the crystals on a client during a session. I'm just going to do that today because the focus here is on doing the selenite shield. But when we're placing them, we do place them down properly with intent and with respect for our client. But for today, I'm just going to pop them down quickly. So we've got bloodstone at the base. We've got carnelian at the sacral, tiger's eye at the solar plexus, green aventurine at the heart, blue lace agate at the throat, and amethyst over the third eye and crown. Because I work with quite large stones, I tend to work with fewer large stones than lots of small stones. So I quite often only use one stone, which covers the crown and the third eye chakras together, rather than placing two individual stones on each. I also find this is just a little bit more practical, especially on the forehead area, because little stones tend to roll off and they don't sit there as well as what one nice large flat one will. So we have to think in terms of practicality as well when we're working with our clients, as well as energetically. Now we'll assume that we've done the full chakra cleanse and charge, and this is right towards the end of the session before we take the stones off the client. I've got my two large selenite wands here, and as I was mentioning earlier, the larger and longer the wands that you're working with, the better for this. And this is why. When we perform a shield, the whole idea is that we're actually dragging the wands through the client's energetic space, like this. And as it's dragging through, I'll just show you, I'm holding them like this as I'm dragging them through my client's aura. And as I'm doing that, I'm actually visualizing that everywhere that my wands are sweeping through, I'm leaving behind, or I'm drawing a white, smoky shield, an energetic shield, and nothing is going to penetrate that shield. Selenite's also wonderful for this because as you sweep it through the aura, it actually gets rid of any negativity, anything that's been hanging around that you want to release and get rid of. And I tend to shake my wands a lot. That's just a personal little action that I've developed over a period of time. I find that it helps me flick away anything that I want to get rid of. So I've drawn all the way down the client's body, both sides. And then what I'm going to do is wrap him up like a mummy, an energetic mummy. So I start on my side of the table. I've got my wands held like this out, so we're covering as much airspace as possible. You can imagine if I was doing this with much shorter wands, how many times I would have to go back and forward. So we start close to us and we actually go over and touch the other side of the table. It's really important that you've remembered your deodorant for before you take a session. As you're leaning over clients, you don't want to be leaning over clients like this on a hot, sweaty day. So personal hygiene is a must. And we just go back and forward. And as I do that, I'm actually visualizing once again that I'm drawing a white barrier, like a smoky shield, everywhere that the wands have been, like that, around the entire length of my client. And then I go back up the body, like I'm wrapping him up like a mummy. Now you can recite mantras as you're doing this, either quietly or out loud. Anything to do with protecting your client, repelling any negativity, any unwanted energies, holding intact all the healing that you've done. Then what I do is remove the stones from the client and I actually get them to roll onto their side, and I do a similar version of that along the client's back. So I don't actually get them to roll all the way over onto their stomach. Just their side is enough to do the back of the body. So we'll take the stones off first. Now once again, I'm just quickly taking them off just for today, but under normal circumstances we take them off a lot more slowly. We set the healing. Please refer back to my earlier tutorials for that. And then we just ask our client to roll over onto their side. And we do this same action. So we drag the wands through the client's energy field like this. And then we can actually go over again. Now, when I'm teaching students this in person, we do encounter the odd student who's on the short side. I'm a bit on the tall side, so this is quite easy for me to reach over the entire length of the table. If you are on the short side and leaning over the whole table is a little bit difficult for you, then just go as far as you can, but you may want to work your way around the table. So because I'm tall and I can reach all the way over the table like this, I don't have to switch sides. But if you're a little bit shorter, then you can just go up to halfway like this and work your way around the client this way. And that way you're still covering everything, but you're not actually having to reach over your client and possibly bump them in the process of trying to get to the other side. There's always a way to do everything. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you've enjoyed watching the tutorial. If you'd love to learn more about my internationally accredited transpersonal crystal healing courses, please visit my website www.evolvehealing.net. All of my courses are internationally accredited. They're recognised in 26 countries worldwide as professional healing qualifications. They're also the only courses in the world to include modules on holistic counselling, the transpersonal healing journey, and transpersonal psychology. I'm currently working with students from all around the world, and I love hearing from people in all corners of the globe. If you have any questions or even just are curious about what I do, please send me an email at kate@evolvehealing.net, and I'll be really happy to answer your questions. Gratitude.